Thank you for tuning in and welcome back, team. Have you ever wondered what house hacking is? Maybe you know somebody that's done house hacking, maybe you don't know what it is, or maybe it just simply sounds like a really cool idea. Well, let's get to the bottom of that today with 8 tips for house hacking. My name is Andrew Finney, your real estate geek. If you need help finding a top agent where you live, or if you simply want to drop me a line to say hello, my contact info is below. If you haven't already done so, please go ahead and subscribe to this channel now and like this video. Thank you. Just for reference, I upload 6 days a week, so be sure to tap the bell icon to be notified of the very next one. Okay, team, so let's talk about this. Does this mean that we're going to run out to a house and start hacking it with our hand or with an axe or hammer? Not quite. It's a really cool thing though, and it is something that's been around for a long time, but seems to have caught on in younger generations right now, and as people look and explore of new ways to get into home ownership. And this one, I gotta tell you, is a really cool one. If this one fits your circumstances and fits your desire to do, this is one that could set you up for life if it's done correctly. So today we're gonna spend some time talking about these 8 tips so that you know how to do it correctly and you can start priming your thought process of whether this process of house hacking is going to be right for you or not. Let's go ahead and talk about what house hacking is. House hacking really comes down to just being a trendy term for buying a small multi-unit investment property. Multi-unit investment properties consist of between 1 and 4, obviously, units, right? That's a residential property. For reference, anything over 4 generally becomes a commercial property. But for the purpose of this episode, we're going to talk about the residential side of this being 4 or less. That's a duplex, that's a triplex, that's a quadplex. And the way that this works is that you would be the home buyer, right? And also the investor at the same point. How does this work out? Well, you can use different loan programs, conventional, FHA, VA, to actually buy these multi-unit properties. Here's the trade-off and here's the catch. You gotta live in at least one of those units for at least a couple years, right? So you're gonna have to stay in one of those units to be able to do this. That's where it comes into, if it fits your circumstance, if it fits your situation, this could be a really awesome way to become a real estate investor as you progress in life, right? Now, the other thing that's really cool about that, you become the investor, you become a landlord fairly immediately, especially if you got yourself like a quadplex, because what does that mean? You have 3 units to rent out. Maybe you got some friends, maybe you're going through college right now, or maybe you just know some other people that need a place to stay. Maybe there could be good tenants for you. Who knows? But it's something to think about. Now, getting into the 8 tips. The first tip is, why is the owner selling? And sometimes this is kind of an interesting question. So if you're working with a trusted real estate advisors, you probably are, right? I mean, it only makes sense to do that. Then you're going to want to ask your trusted real estate advisor, why is the owner selling? If you can find that out, love you for it. Because it could be the seller's going through a divorce, it could be the seller's going through a lawsuit or a legal disaster. What we're specifically looking for whenever we get that answer from the seller is, does it have something to do with the tenants? Does it have something to do with the area of town that this unit is in? Is there something wrong with the structure? We're looking for things that pertain to the actual property itself more than maybe just the seller's personal business, right? We want to know, for the purpose of representing your best interest, what the heck is going on with that property? Why are they selling it? Maybe they're just liquidating the portfolio because they're getting ready to retire to Tahiti or somewhere, right? So then the second tip is actually start gathering some basic information about the property. There's a wide range of tools out there, and your trusted real estate advisor is the #1 source of getting this information. They'll be able to hook you up with all kinds of great information, and as you're looking and deciphering through the information, there's 7 questions you want to keep in mind as you're gathering basic property information. The first one is, what's the age of the building? What building materials were used in its construction? Depending on the age, it could have been asbestos, it could have been lead-based paint. You want to know that, because your job as a homeowner and your job as an investor, in this case, house hacking in this manner, is to know every square inch of that property and why it's on the market, and because you're about to be responsible for all of it if your offer goes through and you become the owner of it. The second thing is, how many units are on the property, and actually go check them out yourself. The third question is, what is the square footage of each unit? If it's a 4,000 square foot quadplex, let's say, then are all 4 units 1,000 square feet, or are they a little bit different? You need to know that. It's going to affect how much you can get for the rent, and it's going to affect your maintenance costs for each of those units, okay? So the fourth thing is, are all units legal and up to the code, or is the seller hedging by not reporting different things, right? Are they like, I'm not going to bring this up to code, and now they're like, I'm not going to tell anyone about it, and it'll be the new buyer's responsibility? You want to know the answer to that question as well. The fifth thing is, are all safety systems such as exit signage, carbon monoxide, smoke detectors, and firewalls properly installed? You'll want to know that that, and you also want to know what your state and local requirements are for each of those systems as it pertains to a multi-unit residence. The sixth question you want to know is, has anything been remodeled? If so, what was remodeled and when was it remodeled? The seventh thing is, ask what, if any, capital improvements have been made into that property over the last 5 years. And then start keeping a track of all of that stuff as you complete your buyer due diligence. Now, the third tip that you want to go into is, who are the current residents? You want to know who these current residents are, because once you take possession of it, especially if you're buying this with an FHA VA loan, hence house hacking, or even a conventional loan, you got to take possession and occupy one of those units as a primary owner. Then you want to know who your neighbor is going to be, who your tenant's going to be, because they're one and the same. Now, there's 7 questions you want to ask on this one. The first one is, what are the current rents? The second one is how to find out how long the residence leases run. Were there any concessions that tenant received from the previous landlord or the owner? How long have they been at the property, right? The third is, what is the average turnover time for a vacant unit? Turnover time means how long does it take from the time that a property, a unit is vacant, to the time that it becomes leased out again. You need to know that too, because that'd be a little bit extra, less money that you'd be receiving while that unit was vacant. So the fourth one is, how long does the average tenant stay? Obviously, long-term tenants may be a better deal for you, just depending on the tenant. The fifth question is, do residents generally get their security deposits back, or do they leave in the middle of the night? Are they just going to disappear on you? You need to know that. The sixth thing is, what is the profile of the average resident? Do they meet your screening guidelines? Your screening guidelines. Got to think about that. You got to have those. The seventh thing is, search for online reviews and discover what past and current residents think of the property. Are they good reviews? Are they bad reviews? Are there any reviews at all? Who knows? You need to check it out. The fourth tip is, check out the neighborhood. So checking out the neighborhood, we're going to go over understanding 9 different questions we need to ask here and knowing what's going on. You need to do your homework so that you have a more realistic understanding of what the market is doing in that area, and also what the property is capable of producing as far as your income and your rents coming back to you are. So start with these 9 questions. Walk a 10 block. Yes, I said walk. Actually get out and walk a 10 block radius around the building and see what you see. Do you see pawn shops? Do you see liquor stores? Do you see nail salons? Do you see coffee shops, restaurants, shopping? What's going on, because what's around it could tell you what's going on maybe with the future of that area, and it's up to you whether that's good or bad. The second thing is, visit the property during the morning, afternoon, and evening. Love the reconnaissance of property all the time to make sure that you have a full spectrum of what's going on. Weekends are pretty awesome too, because most people are off, right? So if you go by morning, afternoon, and evening during the weekday and do the same thing on the weekend, probably get a pretty good idea of what's going on there. The third is, what is the flow of foot and car traffic? How many people are walking by? How many people are driving by? Okay. The fourth is, what is the closest public transportation? Different people may or may not have vehicles. How close is it to public transportation? How easy is it for people to get from point A to point B? The fifth is go to the police station and ask them for a property detail report if they'll go ahead and give that to you. Ask about the reputation of the area and how long do people generally live in the area. There's a lot of different kind of crime mapping links out there. Please share yours in your state with us in the comment section below. And when you insert that link, please tell us what city and state it goes to. I'll go ahead and start that list off with Las Vegas, Nevada, Henderson, and North Las Vegas crime mapping links for you to use if you guys are curious about real estate here, okay? The sixth question is to research what type of unit rents best for the neighborhood. Are they one units? Are they 2 or 3 bedroom units? You need to know what is the most rentable unit for that area. 1 bed, 2 bed, 3 bed, 4 bed, right? You need to know that. So the seventh one is, what are the rents in your area for the 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, 4 bedroom units? You need to know the answer to that. The eighth question is, what are the current rental rates for the area? Are those rental rates at a point that they're going to actually help you buy this property, or help you be able to pay it down quicker and move on to the next one, or maybe buy a single family home after you purchase this and you've lived there for a couple years? You need to know them. And you also need to know rental trends, just as a pro tip there. The ninth question is, ask around and find what the neighbors think of their neighbors. People love sharing their opinion, right? If you tell somebody, hey, they're going to give you a lot of dirt. Hey, how long have you lived here? How much do you enjoy the neighbors next to you? Just hush and let them talk. They will. Okay, the fifth tip is reduce your risk as the landlord, because now you're a landlord, right? So you got to keep your exposure and your risk, your exposure to risk minimized in as much as possible whenever you're investing in the multi-unit property. So you might be able to eliminate risk with some education, Well, actually you can. That's why you're watching this video, and there's a lot of other things that you can do to help eliminate or highly reduce risk by further educating yourself. I strongly encourage you to do that so that you can mitigate your risk and liability on it. So for every vacant unit that you have in your proposed house hacking multi-unit property, you want to know what are the related costs for a tenant. There's 6 of these. Tenant screening fees. The second one is, what are the legal fees? The third is, what are the evictions and related court costs, and what is the process to doing both? Fourth is, how much can you expect to lose, and maybe lost rent that you'll never get back, and planning for that. There's a certain variable to use there. The fifth is leasing fees. If you're going to be using property management, extremely wise to use a property manager even when you're living in there. Still extremely wise. They'll have the answer to these questions and be able to help you out a lot. The sixth is the turnover expenses for cleaning, the trash, the repairs, the maintenance of the units as they go from tenant A to tenant B. That time period in between, you got home maintenance, turnover expenses, right? Things that you need to know and be prepared for the go ahead and get fixed, okay? It can be costly. It can seem like this is costly up front, but it can save you massive money down the road. So come up with a game plan before you go into it, because if your mindset is the house hack, it's different than if you're looking at a single family home. Got a little bit of like a double-edged education going on here. Number 6 is, what are the typical turnover costs, right? So whenever we're factoring the typical turnover costs, we were just talking about in the 6th point underneath tip 5. Well, in tip 6, I'm going to give you 5 common costs that you can expect during the turnover that you can go ahead and plan for. Number 1 is the flooring. Is it carpet? Is it tile? What is it? Do you need to replace it? That's the first cost you want to factor for. The second cost that you want to factor for is, how much does it cost to repaint the interior? Then the third cost is, how much does it cost to clean the unit? The fourth cost is, how much does it cost to take out the trash, right? Trash removal of the property. The fifth is having it treated for pest. There you go. Get those 5 costs under wraps, and that'll answer point 6 underneath tip 5 and address tip 6 in today's episode. The 7th tip in today's episode is, do a little digging on your landlord cost. You need to know what your expenses are going to look like for the upkeep of the common areas and the payment of the property taxes, the homeowner's insurance, debt service, which is your mortgage, right? And possibly property management going back to that if you want to use it. So there's 9 things that you want to consider here. Those 9 things include, how are the wastewater and sewer charges paid? Are they paid by each tenant, or are they paid by you, the owner? You need to know that. The second is the owner responsible for any tenant defaults on the utilities? And many cases, you will be. So you need to make sure that you verify your state law there and make sure that it's that you understand what your legal responsibilities are with that. The third is, who pays for the utilities such as gas, water, and electric? Are you going to be paying for it, or are you going to be passing those expenses off to the tenant? The fourth is, how often is pest treatment required? In other words, how often do you need a pest guy to go out there, or gal, go out there and spray around to keep those pests in check? The fifth is, will taxes be reassessed? In a lot of cases, your property taxes will be reassessed. As the market goes up, property taxes will go up by a certain percentage that's set forth by your county. As properties go lower in value, then ideally the county is doing the same thing, and they will also be reducing your tax assessment on that your property taxes. Okay, something to think about and something to be considering, because that's going to be true whether it's multifamily or if it is a single family residential unit. Property taxes go with the market, and it's a very small percentage that it normally will go up or down based upon what your county's rate is. Okay, so when we go into the 6th thing that you want to be digging around on is, will your property insurance cover a replacement value or the market value of the home? So talk to your homeowner's insurance agent here and ask them, what kind of homeowner's insurance is best for this unit? A replacement cost, market value, ask them about it and make sure that you've got the best coverage that you need. The 7th thing you want to consider, in again going into your homeowner's insurance, is ask them if you should have liability coverage. The 8th thing is, do you need a property management, and what are their fees, right? A lot of property managers charge anywhere between 6 and 12%, just depends on the state and the location. So you want to make sure, it seems pretty common that about 10% of the monthly gross rent is what they're going to charge for their services. Ongoing, not just one time, ongoing, okay? So the 9th thing is to actually ask for a copy of the existing lease agreements. You want to know what are the existing lease agreements in place that landlord put in place with those tenants. Because if that property has tenants, let's say you're buying the quadplex, right? And one of them's vacant, that's the one that you're going to be moving into, yeah? Then the other 3, well, how long have they been there? What kind of a lease agreement did they sign? Because once you take ownership of it, it's not like you can go out and just kick them out if you want to. Because if they have 12 months left on their lease agreement has to be honored. Okay, so you need to know what they agreed to and what the terms of that lease is, and it also starts giving you a better thought process of what this stuff looks like. Okay, so the eighth and final tip in today's episode on house hacking is not to skip your property inspections. Never do that. Okay, you always want to make sure you have your property inspected. Now, especially for 6 big ticket items. Those big ticket items include structural integrity of the building, the roof, the furnace, the hot water heater, the windows, and the HVAC system itself. Those things could add up to a huge amount of money if you don't get them inspected up front. Now, pro tip number 1, no bonus content here for you, is to learn how to factor what's called a capitalization rate and also how to perform a cash flow analysis. If you want to know more how to do these things, check out the videos that I have coming out on Saturday, which have to do with real estate investing. I do break down how to do that. Go ahead and check those out. The second pro tip is to have a good team on your side. Of course, we know that you need that trusted real estate advisor. You need a great local loan officer. You need a great home inspector. And in this case, we might be wanting to talk about adding a great handyman and also property management team to your team to help you be successful with house hacking. Now, this has been a really intensive video. We've covered a huge amount of content, right? Huge amount of content. Go ahead and rewatch it as many times as you need. Go ahead and tell us what you're thinking about this episode in the comment section below. If you've actually house hacked yourself, tell us about it in the comment section below and share your experiences with us to help our team continue to learn and grow. Now I'm going to go ahead and pop up my contact information. If you want to drop me a line to say hello, or if you simply need help finding a top agent where you live, please let me know. I always love to hear from you and happy to help. If you haven't already done so, I'm going to ask you to do 3 things. Number 1, please subscribe to this channel. Number 2, please like this video. Number 3, please share this video around with someone you know is going to be able to help. Because just like you, I'm sure you can think of just one other person that would be curious about how to house hack today. Thank you. Please share it with them. In between now and next time, I'm wishing you and yours a lifetime full of love, wealth, abundance, and happiness. Thank you for watching today, team. See you again soon and enjoy an amazing day.